And here we go. Prost gets a good getaway. Mansell is very close behind. He might get ahead of Senna into turn 1, and he does. Mansell up into P2 ahead of Senna. Here's the rest of the pack behind. As we look at Nakajima, the Japanese driver in front of his home crowd, he's hoping for a good result. And he attacks to the lyric. Can he make it stick around the outside? He can. And he even gets in front of the Piro going into Dunlop. He was a bit wide into Negna, and he makes contact with the Minardi of Pierluigi Martini, and the Italian is out. Nakajima is still going, but he might be penalised for that contact. Now we're on board with the Japanese driver already behind his teammate Piquet. Almost the end of the first lap, and the leader is Prost, followed by Ferrari's Nigel Mansell. Behind him is Senna, then Patrese and Nannini in the Benetton, who had an exceptional start. And we're back with the two Lotuses all. Nakajima has a small contact with his teammate in the chicane. And he might even get ahead of Nelson Piquet, which doesn't happen too often. They're side by side. Piquet has a better exit. But Nakajima takes the slipstream. Can he get ahead of his teammate in the turn 1? He's going to try. And there he goes. He had a better exit, goes through in front of the enthusiastic Japanese crowd, cheering him on. And now we are on board with his great camera angle. Really showing just how fast these drivers are going. And Nakajima is already behind the Ferrari of Berger. Going into the very tricky hairpin. The Ferrari gets better traction and falls away. Oh, but Berger is slow in the spin. Has he got a problem? The Lotus driver is all over the back of the Ferrari. Going into 130 out. Lotus is wide. The Ferrari was going dangerously slow to that high-speed corner. I think he really has a problem, possibly from contact at the start. Well, Nakajima is through, and it's another position gain for him. And now on to lap 3. Prost still leads Mansell. Then we have Senna, and then he got ahead of Patrese, who is now in P5. Then it's Alesi, Bouncer, Warwick, Nakajima and Berger, rounding out the top 10. So Nakajima is P9, not too far off the point, which would be incredible for him since he still doesn't have any. Slide out of the hairpin. I told you this corner was tricky, and there you have it. Struggling to find traction, I think Nakajima should focus on keeping the car on the road and preserving his engine rather than pushing too hard, because the Lotus hasn't exactly been the most reliable car this year. things remain unchanged across the headed of Mansell ahead of Senna, although the Benetton of Alessandro Nannini is getting very close to the Brazilian. Since we're watching the home hero Nakajima, I'll leave you alone with the sound of that jet-powered Lotus 101. To lap 5, Nannini is Aston and Manson. Fast is still leading, but under pressure. Patrese is behind. The Williams of Patrese and Manson seem to be struggling. They're both losing a lot of time. And Nakajima is getting closer, gaining about 6 tenths a lap. He is closely followed by Emmanuel Pirro from the Benetton. And look at that view. Pirro is right behind the Lotus, closing in at every corner. The Benettons are performing really well today on Japanese soil. Of course, the crowd is cheering for Satoru Nakajima, who's now defending against Pirro, but can he stay ahead? making all sorts of different lines to block the Italian, but it might be wearing out his tyres in the process. And there's a lot of action going into 130. I think someone's off, and it's John Olisi in the Tyrrell. Nakajima is through, and the aggressive Frenchman rejoins just ahead of the Veneto. This has slowed the Williams is down, so the Lotus of Nakajima might get into the points if he keeps this up. Boutsen is now ahead of Patrese. Through the gravel like 200 km/h didn't scare him. He's on over the back of the Lotus now, and Nakajima will need a superb ride to keep him behind. Here we look at the replay of John Olisi's mistake. Too aggressive on the curve. Meanwhile, up front, Senna is under attack from the Ea Boutsen in the Williams, and I think he's through. So Senna drops to P6. Prost has been overtaken by Nannini, who's now in P1, and now Prost is being attacked by Mansell into turn 1. Senna's also being pressured by Patrese. And behind him, suddenly, having an excellent race, is Satoru Nakajima just one position out of the points. Anderson is still trying to get past, but Nakajima holds on while the Japanese crowd goes crazy for him and the Honda-powered McLarens. His teammates, Jonathan Palmer, is right there behind them, probably waiting for an opportunity to get past. The Lotus Nakajima struggling with traction. And they say we'll try again, but Nakajima blocks and beats it behind. What a great view of this fight. Bends again, stays ahead. Well then, on to lap 9 then. Nini leads and just set the fastest lap at 1:41.6. A very fast lap indeed. Then we are fast forward by Mansell, Boutsen and Senna. Behind them, Nakajima is now really close to Patrese and Senna. He might just get into the points for the first time this season in front of his own crowd. Oh, he's a bit wide, and I think there's a car off behind him. It's Olisi again. But it doesn't seem too serious. involved with Nakajima pushing to get into the points. Behind the Williams. Oh no, he's off. I think Patrici blocked him on the way through. That must have given everyone in Japan a heart attack, especially Satoru himself. And now, surprisingly, it's Stefan Modena in the end. The Japanese driver is still out of the points, but remember, anything can happen in Formula 1. Final lap now, I don't think Nakajima will be able to attack Patrici again. He should focus on defending because the cars behind aren't slowing down. Here's the replay of the 130 Arinsu Patrese goes on the curb, loses control and forces Nakajima off. A scary, scary moment, but thankfully it could have been worse. And up front we might have missed him because he had a quiet yet extraordinary race, Alessandro Nannini. Crosses the line. He's a winner in Formula 1, a brilliantly executed race. Behind him, Mansell take P2. Prost is fourth and Senna just holds off Patrici. Nakajima misses out on the points. What a race.